All right, I'll save the football till after Stanton. I mean, again, we know what happened yesterday. It wasn't pretty. We know about the fourth quarter collapse. So I'll get your calls on Stanton. We have the press conference coming up at 2, and then we'll get to all the football. Another terrible day, another quarter. I hate seeing these quarterbacks go down, and I hate seeing these quarterbacks go down on the good teams because it just ruins. I mean, the Wentz thing is just terrible. I mean, they win a big game against the Rams. They come from behind on multiple occasions in that game. I mean, the game goes back and forth like crazy. A really solid game, and then you have that happen. That's terrible. You know, you need these quarterbacks in the postseason. You really do. Very tough from that standpoint. And as far as the locals, obviously, the Jets and the Giants both had terrible days yesterday. Jets had one of those days, you know, I didn't like the idea they were favoring that game going to that place. It's just, it's a place you just don't expect it. I didn't expect Kansas City to win as easily as they did against the Raiders. Boy, they played differently last week, that's for sure. Do I have to reset this? Because I don't have any calls on here at all. There's none here. So you want to come in and reset this for me, Mons, or do you want to just pop them up, whatever you want? You can set it there. All right, Eddie, let's start with Eddie. Go ahead, Eddie. What's up?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good.
On the Yanks, this reminds me of when they got Giambi and they needed a couple extra runs and they went dry on getting.
Well, this is even a bigger slugger than Giambi was, But you're right. This is when George went to the home run after they had been a very different team. And listen, that's not saying you can't win with guys who win MVPs and hit home runs, because you can. I mean, the 1-09 they did with A-Rod, and A-Rod had done that. They also won when they had guys like Mantle and who won MVPs and Berra and Maris and guys like that, and won home run titles and Triple Crowns. So it can be done. My point is the way they built the team. The team had a real nice feel to it last year. That's changed now. They've grown up, and now they've added star power. And Stanton is not a Trout star or a Harper star. He's just a pure slugger. He's kind of quiet. He's not. He doesn't carry himself the way some of those other stars. He doesn't have that majestic all around game. He is a slugger, is what he is. But he is a heck of a slugger.
Right. But is he going to give you a run in that big game when it's 0-0 in the ninth inning?
That's a question. Listen, again, they're going to have changed the face of this team, and they didn't need Listen, they didn't need the player. They didn't need more right-handed power. They didn't give up anything to get him. We know that. Plus, they can fill the position maybe better with Gleyber Torres. But the thing is, and they still might be able to fool with their economics to get under the tax. That's going to be a little trickier. We'll have to wait and see what happens with the outfielders. We'll have to see what happens with the pitching. But the point is, they got him for very little. No one can argue that point. It still changes who they are. It changes their maturation. It changes their development. And they've become a real slugging machine. And it's going to be interesting to see, like, how do the outfielders play? Who plays right? George or Stanton? Who plays center? Does Hicks play center every day? Is there a role for Gardy on this team? There's obviously no role for Ellsbury on this team. So when you look at that, is Hicks now your everyday center fielder? What if he doesn't hit? Can Gardy play any center? Does Judge have to move to left? All this stuff has to be discussed. So we haven't gotten there on all of it yet, but that's all stuff that now it doesn't have that seamless feel. Now, from a business standpoint, you cannot dispute it. From a just adding a player point, you can't dispute it, getting him for Castro and very little, but it does change a lot of things. It accelerates a lot of things. And there is a chance that a delicate equilibrium, when one guy makes $295 million and you have some young kids who haven't been paid yet and they're counted on to be big players, it's not hard to get a problem. It's not hard. It really isn't when one guy's making $295 million. Greg in Long Island, what's up, Greg?
Hey, Mike, what's happening?
What's
Mike,
happening?
Before I get to the Yankees, I just want to say I was at McKay's yesterday with my son, and it looked like you and your kids were having a really good time.
Well, listen, the place was like a circus. The fans were unbelievable. I mean, they were amazing yesterday. That was overwhelming. That thing. I mean, people lining up from 6:00 in the morning. People stayed for hours online afterwards. I mean, the people were amazing. It was an unbelievable display yesterday. I cannot thank the people enough. They were great. Every person. I mean, they were wonderful yesterday. Absolutely. We had a ball. Absolutely.
It definitely looks like you guys will have a lot of fun. But, Mike, with the Yankees now, where do you think they're going to bat Stanton and Judge? And do you think that Gardner is still going to be on the team?
I'd see. Listen, you can keep. I think it really depends on what they see from. I don't think Gaudy can play center anymore on a daily basis, and left and right are gone. Now the question is Stanton willing to go to left? Judge is a good right fielder. Does he get to stay in right, or does he have to move to left for Stanton, who wants to play right? So you got to answer that question. Stanton's going to get his call. Number two, that closes out the two outfield corners. Now, Gaudy doesn't have left anymore, which means Gaudy has to go play center with Hicks. Ellsbury has no role. The Yankees have to get Ellsbury off the team. The question is, can they get him off the team without having every dollar count against the cap? They owe him a ton of money. Plus, he's got a no trade. Plus, nobody will touch that contract. So getting him and getting any of the money off the books is you'd have to give away a top prospect just to do that. And then Gaudy's role, what about that? Do you just try and take his money? And what does Gaudy make exactly next year? 10? Is it 10? I got 10 in my head. Is it 10 or is it 11? What is it, Gaudy, next year? They might try and trade Gaudy, too. Play Hicks every day, Frazier your fourth outfielder, and go from there. 11. Okay, now Gaudy would help them economically if they get him off the team. Somebody will take Gaudy. Nobody's touching Ellsbury. Ellsbury's counting the $5 million is $68 million, I believe, is guaranteed. I think 68, counting the buyout. Ellie in Lakewood. What's up, Ellie?
Hey, Mike. As a long-time caller, we're really going to miss you. You're part of the Lakewood Mongo Nation. We grew up with you.
Thank you.
And, I wish you good luck in the future.
Thank you.
And I hope, we hear you in the future.
Thank you.
Before I get to my Yankee point, we always respected your football knowledge. And, if the Giants would call you to be, let's say, a consultant or even like a GM.
No, that's not good. Listen, the Giants are going to have plenty of good guys. They got plenty of people there. They got a guy there in Chris Mara who could do the job right now, except he's family. So they'll be fine. I'm telling you, they'll be fine.
I always thought you knew more than these guys.
Well, no, listen, they'll be in good hands. They will be. But go ahead. What's on your mind about Stanton?
About the Stanton and the Judge. It's interesting, when Judge was having the monster year last year, I was comparing him to Stanton. They strike out a lot. They're great fielders. They have the power, and you just got to split them up in the lineup. And I think he's definitely going to help the team. They put, they always go out the Yankees and make the move as opposed to the Mets.
Well, this is one that came looking for them. Jeter, I don't think was looking to help the Yankees. I think he had nowhere else to go. He just had nowhere else to go. The teams that he got a trade with, Stanton wouldn't agree to. And then the team where Stanton wanted to go, the Dodgers, they couldn't get the deal done. I mean, they didn't have the money. They didn't have the cap room. So from that standpoint, they didn't have anywhere to send them. So the Yankees are always the way station. The one place where they can get it done, and they got it done. But I don't think the Yankees were looking for this. They clearly weren't. Alex in Manhattan. What's up, Alex?
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
What's happening?
Good to hear. I know you're going to be gone in a couple of days, but it's good to hear you're still as wrong as ever. Who cares where Brett Gardner is going to play? Who cares? I don't understand.
Moore is not automatically Moore in every team.
This is an absolute no-brainer.
Of course it was. So was Giambi. If you remember, if you were young, maybe you might have been in diapers then, but so was Giambi.
Mike,
how many times did they win after Giambi came?
Mike, Giambi wasn't the MVP the year before.
Giambi was a tremendous slugger. Go back and look. He was a tremendous slugger. Then they brought A-Rod to the team, and they won once.
They won a World Series.
They won one in 10 years. They won 4 in 5 years without having a home run hitter on a team. A legitimate slugger on the team. They had none. No MVPs, no home run hitters. Won 4 in 5 years. They won 1 from 2001 to now. They've won 1 World Series. So the configuration, which was guys like O'Neill and Bernie and guys who could put together singles and doubles and home runs when they needed them, but didn't hit with outrageous power, which they started to bring in when they went and got Giambi and went and got A-Rod and went and got Sheffield. They were never, ever as cohesive or the group that they were. And I'm not knocking any single one of those guys. What I'm saying is more is not always more. More in sports is sometimes less. It has to fit. Fans think more is more, and that's the dumb way to look at sports. Oh, wait, if I had this guy and this guy, I can't lose. That's why the Lakers once had Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, and Wilt on the same team, won nothing. Nothing. So you can put more stars on a team. Now, in baseball, they're individuals, but still, you change the way teams feel, the way they play, the way they defend, the way they do everything. This team just changed radically by adding this player. Changed radically. Judge is impacted. Everybody's impacted. Now, can I tell you that you shouldn't add Stanton for Castro? Well, of course not. Anybody can figure that one out. But is it automatic that everything is perfect? No. Business-wise, this one is a absolute slam dunk no-brainer. This will add people who will buy seats, people who will buy advertising, people who will buy luxury boxes. This will help ratings. This will help box office. And the Yankees haven't been a box office killer in years. So that will help them in that regard. There's no way around that. That's a no-brainer from a box office standpoint. No-brainer. But that's what happens when every year starts. It doesn't always make you better on the field, though. Billy in Bay Ridge. What's up, Billy?
Hey, Mike, I'm a longtime Met fan, and each year I'm watching the Yankees more and more. And now with Stanton, I hate to say it, but I'm going to be watching the Yankees for the quality.
What? The Mets needed to actually give this serious thought. And if this was offered to them, which I'm sure it was because it was pretty much offered to everybody, the Mets had to realize this was something they needed to do. I mean, that's where the Mets sometimes make you scratch your head. And then they make jokes about having Nimmo in the lineup or something. Hey, that's not a funny joke to a Met fan. That's a painful thought to a Met fan. You got to give your teams, and I understand, Billy, you got to give your teams some reason to believe, and you got to give them, this is New York, you got to give them something to play with. You got to give them something to really have, you got to give them something, reason to come to the ballpark. And the Mets are falling back into the abyss. They really are. You get the feeling they're, it's almost like sometimes you got to pull the Mets up by the collar and get them back into play. And right now, the Yankees are going to obliterate them. They're going to absolutely, the Mets will not exist. And that's dangerous for the Mets. They will not exist right now. They're back to that point in a couple of years where they won't exist. Mets need, you see the headlines about the Mets trading Harvey. Now, Harvey's game has fallen off dramatically. But do you realize what leaves with Harvey? You know what leaves? Attention. Harvey is a lightning rod. People pay attention to him all the time. You know why? Good or bad, he's a star. People care. People pay attention to him. They pay attention to his good days. They revel in his bad days. The guys that people don't like him revel in his bad days. The people who love him, they're there with him. He's a star. Now, he's playing terribly, which I can't argue with. But he's a guy who put the Mets on the map. The Mets right now are about to slide off the map. And that's when the Mets don't get it, is when they're about to slide off the map that they can't. Greg in Pennsylvania. What's up, Greg?
Hey, Mike. Carl Banks and David Stern said it best. You revolutionized the industry. Thank you so very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The Stanton deal, I just hope that there's somebody there to hold all of these guys accountable, like Jeter did, like Paul O'Neill did, et cetera, and it doesn't get out of hand. We have a heck of a lineup. I'm looking forward to it. Girardi and Boone.
It is a murderer's row, that's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. Girardi and Boone confuse me a little bit. I do hope that they don't hold Boone as accountable for the analytics as I think they're going to. Because I think when you got a baseball guy, you got to let him be a baseball guy, too. And the last thing I have for you is I loved your commentary on the injuries. Being born and raised in Philly, I'm in Harrisburg now, but the Wentz injury was sickening to me.
Oh, horrible. You know, I hate seeing quarterbacks go down, especially when teams are having magical seasons. And the Eagles right now, that was a magical win for them yesterday. It really was.
No question. My question is this. Jeffrey Lurie is a splash guy. They're going to go looking for a quarterback to back up Foles. I'm hoping, and you're closer to this than I am, but I'm hoping that it's not Colin Kaepernick. What are your thoughts?
I don't think they'll bring him into a winning team right now at this stage of the season because I don't think they want to create confusion or a lot of attention. I think they want to keep it about football. So I don't think that's who they'll bring in to be the backup now. They obviously need a backup because they're going to be playing important games. So they're going to need a backup. So, but I don't think they'll do that for that reason. Plus, he also doesn't fit their system at all. Foles can play. I mean, he's not Wentz, but he can play. All right, 140, and this he has informed me this is his last show with me, Mr. Met. So your last one today? What you switched with Mink to do today's show? Well, thank you for that.
Minko actually was gracious enough to
That's very nice.
Move up. And,
That's very nice. So I'm glad to have you with me one more time. Thank you for the many. What was your first year with us? What was your first
1993.
year? 1993. Yeah. And where did you come from?
Well, I had been in Connecticut doing a lot of Connecticut radio for years, including the Connecticut Radio Network, did UConn games. Doing UConn got me on the radar and had a live audition. I remember very well my first show with you and the dog. And dog, I said something to the dog, and then you said something like, he sounds pretty good. He sounds pretty good. You know, like, okay, maybe we'll have him try another update, and here I am.
Well, once we got
later.
you going on the Mets, we had to keep you. When we saw what a psycho you were, when you saw how do you feel right now watching your Mets just completely fade into oblivion again this quickly? When you were just a couple of years ago about to own the town, you had waited all these years to own it, and now you're back in oblivion again.
It is amazing how quickly it flips. That has really taken me by surprise. It's like, wait a minute, how did this thing go upside down so quickly?
And now it's almost like the Mets have lost. See, the Mets sometimes it's almost like you have to slap them and let them make sure they're awake. You know, like right now you're at one of those times again where you just don't get the idea the Mets are awake. You know, like, hello, are you there? Is anybody there? Anyone realize what's going on around here?
Yeah, well, they've gone into hiding again. And,
yes.
They've lost the winter. Fine. Okay, lose the winter, win the summer, hopefully.
No. Listen, your answer can't be, your joke can't be Nimmo when you're talking about Stanton. They can't, your joke, that's like an open wound for the Met fans to joke about Nimmo. I mean, you can't really. You know.
Yeah, I remember a moment with you when the Yankees had made some big trades, and then the Mets, as it turned out, a great deal, but it was R.A. Dickey they picked up. Now, at the time, it was like, I remember you saying, what, R.A. Dickey and the Yankees are doing this? Hey, maybe the same script plays itself out.
You hope so. That was actually one of the good ones.
It was. At the time, it was like, who, what? While the Yankees, it may have been when Sabathia and
Teixeira?
Yeah,
it might have been. It sounds like about the right time.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this is your last go-round today?
Mike.
Well, thank you for
Mike,
everything.
Thank
you through the years.
I'd be piling on if I were to tell you how much it's been an honor, but I'll pile on and tell you.
Thank you.
It
I
really
appreciate
has been a great.
It's been great having you. All right. And all your craziness and all your Yankee hatred, which we love. Here's Mr. Met.